So Rajat is going to read from the beginning part of the book, where we're setting it up. The whole story started in 2013. The National War Museum in London declared the twin battles of Kohima and Imphal, as the greatest battle that the British had ever fought. They rated it above Dunkirk and Waterloo. And so when this news came out, in Calcutta, 23rd January, Netaji's birthday, in a small little tea shop, some men have gathered, and this is what transpires.
Dulalda greets his latest client with obvious fondness. Good morning, Sudipta Babu. So how are things with our favorite young journalist? Sudipta rubs his hands, freezing Dulalda. Haru, my boy, one chai. Nice and hot, chop chop. He gestures towards Balaida's open paper. So what's the latest on that chit fund scam? Balaida shakes his head in disgust. That Madan fellow, caught red-handed. Shameful. Bambulda scratches his stubbly grey beard. Mark my words, what India needs is a military dictatorship, like Pakistan. A strong hand at the head. No, Dada. Strong hand won't work anymore. What we need is a strong foot to give one tight big kick up everyone's ass. There is muted laughter, a shake of heads, a scratching of bellies around the table. The sound of drumbeats and shouted slogans from the main road breaks the moment of reflection. Ganesh Babu looks up with exasperation. Now what? Abar ki? Dulalda gets up and pokes his head round the corner to look down the street. Of course, today is 23rd January, Netaji's birthday. Ganesh Babu throws his hands up in exasperation. Oh, Re Baba, those bloody clowns will be out on the streets, left, right, marching around in those khaki shorts, causing traffic jams. The old man slumped in the corner, a shadow shape slowly stirs. Oops, I better hurry up then, mutters Bambulda, starting to gather his things. I have to go all the way to the Dalhousie area. The bank is really giving me a royal runaround over my pension checks. Sudipto too starts to take out change to pay Haru. But Ganesh Babu, if Netaji had been there today, this would have been a different country. He had such visions, such plans. Ganesh Babu looks at him curiously. Really? And how would a youngster like you know about Netaji? That's all ancient history. I'm a journal. I make it my business to know. And anyway, he's still relevant today. It's not just me. Every Bengali, every Indian should know what Netaji could have done. Balaida, who has been engrossed in his papers, suddenly slaps one page. What a coincidence. Here we were just discussing Netaji, and see, there's a big article on him. Something about Imphal and Kohima. The old man sits up. The Irani glass rattles against his plate. Ganesh Babu is skeptical. Written by some party bigwig's chamcha. The Communist Party used to hate him when he was alive. But now they blow conch shells and clean up the crow shit on his statue once a year and make a big hoo-ha. Barada shakes his head. No, actually it's written by Thomas Jones, a Britisher, I think. It's about some battle. Here, you read it. He hands the paper to Sudipto. Secret files made finally public by Thomas Jones about a battle between the British and the Japanese and Azad Hind Fauj, Netaji's army. Happened in 1944. For 2 weeks, the future of the British Empire hung in the balance, etc., etc. Wow, look at this. Recently, UK's National Army Museum conducted a poll on Britain's greatest battle fought over the last 400 years. Waterloo, Aliwal, D-Day, Normandy, Rocks Drift, and Imphal Kohima were selected. But to everyone's surprise, the twin battles against Japan, Azad Hind Fauj fought in Kohima and Imphal in India were voted the greatest ever. Sudipto looks up, his eyes shining. Then he goes back to reading. Most Indians are not aware that one of the bloodiest and most crucial battles of World War II was fought on their soil, which, if Japan had succeeded in winning, would have changed the fate of the Allied forces and maybe the course of Indian history. Ganesh Babu is still skeptical. Just a gimmick to sell newspapers. Sudipto is indignant. How can he be so offhand about this, Ganesh Babu? Look here, it says. Suddenly his hand is jolted. The old man, who has crept up silently, snatches the paper out of his hands. Hey, what the... But he falls silent. A demented spark lurks just under the surface of the old man's milky eyes. He clutches the crumpled paper to his chest, his other hand shaking, palsied, is raised to fend them off, part in imperious command, part in trembling entreaty. Slowly he backs away, shaking his head, then turns toward the murky light coming in from the street and holds up the paper. He reads silently, his lips moving imperceptibly, whisper of sound and breath. Balaida makes a silent but universally rude gesture, tapping his index finger against his temple. Bonkers, lost his marbles, it says. Haru stifles a giggle. The fog has thickened again, and inside the tea shop, there is a hush. Then the old man sighs, looks up. The rheumy eyes peer at them over the thick wire-framed spectacles. The ghost of a smile appears on his seamed face. When he speaks, his voice is hoarse, strained, almost as if he hasn't used it for a really long time. Finally.
Check. Thank you so much, Rajat. Firstly, good evening, everyone, and congratulations to Namita and Sanjay. I was asked outside, why did you agree to read the book today, or why did you agree to be here today? And I've done many ads with Namita and Shubir at White Light, and I was petrified of them as a model. So the moment I got a call from Namita, it firstly took me a day to return the call. Now you know why. Not again. I thought, I didn't know what she was going to say, and then she said, I've written a book, and will you launch it? Before she could complete her sentence, I said yes. But, this book is of course called The Wrong Turn.
You're in very good company. 50% of the people here can't say no.
No, but I must tell you that, the book is called The Wrong Turn, but ironically, my life as an actor took the right turn working with Namita and Shubir. I remember, I thought acting was about a pretty face, and okay, I did think I had a pretty face back then. But I thought that's what it was about, and I was doing a lot of ads, and then we went to Rajkot for an ad film. It was about a bike. I don't want to name it for obvious reasons, but we were doing the ad, and both the male model and me just couldn't get the moment right. It was about this man, who's just come back from the army and who gets a call. There's a message on the radio calling all army personnel back to the front. And we just couldn't get it right. And I remember getting fired by Namita and Shubir. And I remember then, I somehow I got the shots right, and then there was a shot, there was a hand shot, and normally they have hand models to do it. So, I hadn't really manicured my fingers or anything. I hold the transistor and she fires me. She says, your nails are chipped. And you're firstly this woman in the village, you're not going to have such long nails, and then, to make matters worse, one nail is shorter than the rest of them. And I was mortified, I went back into the room, I had tears in my eyes, and I said, what the hell, why is she... But when I came out, she actually had this chat with me, which just made me look at everything very differently. It was actually that ad film, and I've never had a chance to thank you personally for that, but thank you so much. Because, during that shoot, she said it's so important for an actor to just soak in experiences of all kinds, whether you like it or not. Keep observing people, read the newspapers, read books, watch plays, movies, listen to music you like and don't like. Just keep yourself open to experiences. That's when you'll be able to feel a moment that you haven't experienced personally. And I think that changed a lot for me, and which is why I am here today, to say thank you more than anything else, and all the best to both of you. Sanjay, you're a bonus, I know your better half. very well. And I was thrilled to know that you've co-authored the book, and all the best to both of you. That's a long speech. Should I even read now?
Yes. You're supposed to say yes.
So, Devraj is one of the characters, and Aditi is the woman, the one woman in the book. And Devraj is injured, he's in hospital, and Aditi's been looking after him. And this is a section from there.
Devraj felt restless. He had slept the whole afternoon and now, in the evening, felt cooped up. Aditi had been completely avoiding him the last few days. The Malay nurse, he kept forgetting her name, had taken over. Her rather rough, matter-of-fact ministrations, very different from Aditi's careful hands. He was irritated by Aditi's absence, her recalcitrance, her refusal to meet him halfway. To hell with her prissy Miss Two Shoes. He rang his bell, but no one came. Where was everybody? He struggled to ease himself out of his bed and managed to collapse onto his wheelchair. Outside, the cold antiseptic smell of the floor cleaners made him sneeze. He could see the nurse's station at the far end, light spilling out of an open door. But he didn't fancy talking to any of them. He felt a cool current of air coming from somewhere. He swerved and headed for its promise of freedom. A veranda led out onto a small walled garden. Crickets chirped. The oversweet fragrance of some nocturnal flower, the damp smell of earth, filled his lungs. It was turning dark, twilight softening the outlines of the little stone cherub perched under a drooping willow. He suddenly thirsted for a stiff drink and a cigarette. He thought of Nishanko, how he would never light a second cigarette from his match, calling it sniper bait. One strike, the enemy can't draw a bead. But you pass the flame to another cigarette, he's got you in his cross sights, and poof, your head bursts like a watermelon as you bend down to cup the light. All of a sudden, he missed Nishanko, missed his dry, reserved manner, his down-to-earth words. He missed Pandeyji, and even the ever-disapproving Captain Nawaz. He missed the male ribaldry and the clean single-mindedness of soldiers engaged in battle. He realized that none of them had tried to find out how he was, that the knowledge had been secretly rankling inside. Did no one care? Or maybe they didn't even know where he... Or maybe they didn't even know where he was. A shadow darkened the doorway. A figure in white, a nurse, stood there, shoulders hunched, indistinct in the twilight. Hello? Devraj called out softly. She straightened up, stepped into a spill of light. It was Aditi. He was absurdly happy to see her. She drew in a deep, shuddering breath. What are you doing out here? Following doctor's orders, doing my evening constitutional. Where's everybody? He was glad to have her back. She shook her head as if trying to clear it. One of the operations up north, it went wrong. We've all been busy. Are you okay? A long sigh of bone tiredness. She absent-mindedly started peeling off surgical gloves. He saw they were soaked in blood. He noticed that she still had a surgical mask curled around her throat. Without looking at him, she started to talk in a flat monotone. They tell us it's useless, to waste time and supplies on the ones who are too damaged. It's so tough to get medicines, morphine. We're always running short. So who deserves them more? The ones who can continue to fight, or the ones who've already fought so hard and sacrificed so much? We make that call every night. We play God. He wheeled his chair, reached out his hand. She took it absent-mindedly, slowly sliding down the stone wall till she was resting on the stone flags, propped against his bandaged leg. He cupped his hand on the nape of her neck. She leaned back, accepting the solace. They accept our professional judgment silently. No complaints. But their eyes, they grudge their eyes. What happens if we're wrong? Maybe if we'd held on a little longer, given him some more penicillin, maybe... Who did you lose? Too many. Anwar Qasim. A big bull of a man. A laugh like a big drum. Told me to give the morphine to the bachas, the kids. Went so gently into the night with his God's name on his shattered lips. She started to cry softly, hot, fat drops. He leaned forward and enfolded her, burying his face in the springly, curly, cloudy mass of her hair. She smelled of hay, spring water, oranges, and lye. They remained like that for a long moment. Then she stirred, turned her face up to his. He stared at her at the wide apart eyes, the dark bruises of weariness like smudged coal underneath. She stared back. His hair had grown back curly. He had not been shaving, and his cheeks, hollow, thin, were shadowed with the beginnings of a beard. The irises of those grey, gold-flecked eyes were wide open, dilated like a cat's. The scar across his forehead, still healing, was a livid pink. She reached up to touch it with her fingertips. He held them, brought them to his lips. Then they kissed, chaste at first, the merest brush of lip against lip. Then exploring, feeling their way. Then the shock of hunger, and finally the plunge into the wet, secret recesses of each other. It was her first kiss.
You can't come late and say such things. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we are going to launch the book.